Hi, welcome to my video on anxiety. The first thing we need to know about anxiety is the definition. So if you look up at the top here, a state of apprehension, worry, uneasiness or eagerness. One thing I'd like to explain about anxiety is that anxiety gets a little bit of bad press, quite rightly, but anxiety is part of everyday life. And if you think about the words in the definition about apprehension, worry, uneasiness, now if you take the example of maybe crossing a road, you need a bit of anxiety crossing that road. The worry of either getting run over, or dodging a car, that is anxiety. And anxiety is part of everyday life, but it's just about how we control anxiety, which I'll talk a little bit more detail in a sporting context. So the two types we need to know. One is state anxiety. Now this is the temporary level of anxiety. So if you think before a game that you're going to feel a heightened state of anxiety before you go on, again, it's completely normal, It's actually quite good for you. And the other type of anxiety is trait anxiety. Now, you've seen trait anxiety being explained in the personality theories. This is more stable, enduring, long-lasting, and this is more what we are as a person. So state changes the situation. So this example I've given here is about coming off the bench. We've got Torres there. He might be feeling some state anxiety before he comes onto the pitch. And the trait anxiety is more to do with the stable sort of personality of that person. Again, if you come back down here, there's two ways we react to anxiety. We have the somatic response, the physical symptoms, including increased heart rate and blood pressure. Some other things you might want to consider with somatic anxiety are increased blood pressure, sweating, adrenaline boost, which is obviously great for sport, need to urinate, muscle tension, pacing up and down. In fact, you can get yawning. I sometimes get that before sport. I actually go very tired. It's another sign of anxiety. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and loss of appetite. These are all things that are linked to somatic anxiety. And again, coming over here on the cognitive, now you'll know that cognitive is more about in your head. A performer's thoughts or worries about their abilities to complete the task successfully. I'll just throw a few more examples in there. So you might be thinking of indecision, confusion, negative thoughts. Are you actually good enough to go out there and play? Poor concentration, you become irritable, you lose your confidence, and images of failure. These are all things linked to cognitive anxiety. So I'm going to go on to the next slide. If you want to pause it and maybe just give that a little bit of thought, I'll see you on the next slide. So moving on to why this is important for sports psychology and how a coach could potentially use this to get the best out of their players. So if you look at some research by Hannin in 1986, found that each individual has their own ideal level of anxiety, which elicits their best performance. An individual's preferred level of anxiety is shown as a bandwidth, not as a point. So a performer is within their preferred zone. Optimal performance is more likely. If they are not in their zone, they will not perform at their best. Now, again, you've got to think about maybe arousal theory, And again, coming back to anxiety, it's all about the individual. And Hannin suggests that we have athlete A, B, and C. Fairly self-explanatory, this one. So athlete A is in the zone. They perform the best when their anxiety, which if you look down here at the bottom, their anxiety low here to high. Athlete A performs better when you keep their anxiety low. So if you think about their cognitive anxiety, we try to keep them nice and calm. We try and give them positive thoughts. We reassure them, and they should be at their best. If we get athlete A too anxious, we maybe say to them, look, if you don't perform well, you're going to get dropped, or if we lose, we're going to get relegated. This particular person is not going to perform very well. So just think about, are you athlete A, or do you have any friends athletes A that you need to try and keep nice and calm, and they'll play at their very best. So athlete B, they perform best with moderate anxiety. So it's the blue zone we're looking at. This is in the zone. This person will not perform particularly well if they haven't got any anxiety, so a little bit of worry that they need to try and get them into the zone. But again, if there's too much anxiety, again, negative thoughts, indecision, confusion, they are going to not perform at their best. Again, you've got to think about a coach. What could they do to get this person in the zone? Again, are you athlete B? Do you have any friends which are athlete B? And finally, moving on to athlete C, this person really does need to have high anxiety to be in the zone. So you might want to, before they go on the pitch, suggest that they are going to get dropped, giving them maybe a telling off or some motivational talk that if they do not perform very well, that potentially they're going to get dropped. And I know lots of players that perform best when their anxiety is at the very highest. I've just been watching the Winter Olympics, and Sean White, who did fantastically well to win the gold medal on his last run, I would imagine he would be athlete C, because they mentioned that he enjoys the pressure, he enjoys the worry about the doubt of him getting a gold medal. And for him, I think he got to into this zone, whereas if he'd been kept fairly calm, I don't think he would have performed quite as well. So just pause this clip and think, can you get an example of a person who is athlete A, B and C? All right, that concludes anxiety.